Club podcast all up in your ear. Talking all that good you wanna hear. Stogies, bourbons, and everything in between. Griff and Pugh are not experts by any means, so sit back and light one up. Make sure you got something good in your cup. Happy spoken, now enjoy the program. Thank you for being part of the Cigar Club fam.
What's up, Cigar Club family, and welcome back to another episode of the Cigar Club podcast. I'm Pugh, and along with me, as always, is Griff Howie. Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening every week, as well as leaving your thoughts and feedback below on each episode. If this is your first time joining us, welcome, and thanks for tuning in. The Cigar Club podcast is where we talk about all things cigars with you, the Cigar Club family, every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Cigar Club family, what we have in front of us and what we have in store for you today is something very special because this will be the very first AI blended cigar. You heard me right. We hopped on the AI bandwagon, and what we have in front of us today is 3 different blends that AI told us to do. But before we get into that, Griff, how are you doing, buddy? I know what you're going to be smoking, but how you been?
Top of the afternoon to you, Pew. This is a girthy bitch.
She is a little 6 by 52.
Beautiful day here in Greenville, South Carolina. Slight breeze out of the west. Birds chirping. And I don't know if it's out of the west. I just made that up. But koi fish jumping. Chipmunks running. So
you got the damn full nature there.
All is well here. I did not think about wearing my Bocock Brothers hat. Doug and Bryant were gracious enough to send us some goodies, including
swag
polo. So I'm rocking my Skyline Chili hat, and can't beat it. So
yeah, I'm really glad you purchased that one. Thank you again. Shout out to the Bocock Brothers for sending us both the hat and the polo. I'm going to wear the polo probably the next podcast episode. Just a little too hot to wear it this afternoon. That polo is super nice. That might be one of the nicest polos that I have.
It is very nice. Bocock Brothers has a great online store, hats and polos, so check it out. I'll wear it on the next podcast too, maybe.
Little be cocky right there. But for those of you who may not know, we do have a separate subscription from our traditional subscription called Cigar Club Customs, where every 2 months you'll receive a custom blended cigar that we blended alongside some of the best cigar factories in the industry. So far this month, we've had cigars from Bello Cigars down in Miami. We had Villiger Cigars as well, and then we've got a couple more lined up this year. All different factories for all 6 blends this year. The next shipment or the next blend drops in June, so stay tuned for that. If you're not a part of that amazing program, we certainly recommend you join us for that. But Griff, this is something that I've been thinking about since January of this year.
Yeah,
and
this has really been
exciting.
Your baby.
It really has. I obviously try to stay up to date on all the cool things happening, at least in the, not only the cigar world, but also just technology and things like that. You're seeing a ton of, or the rise of ChatGPT, Midjourney for images. Just pretty much AI has now worked itself into almost everyday life or some form or facet of everyday life. And it's absolutely amazing to see how quickly it has blown up and, just the capabilities of it. So I remember it was Martin Luther King weekend. I was up in the cabin, relaxing in the hot tub. And I had this idea. And the idea was stemmed from a video that I saw of ChatGPT. So if you don't know what ChatGPT is, it's essentially an AI language program that you're able to question or provide questions or things, math programs. People use it for coding. So you could say, what is the greatest beer? And it'll spit out some type of information or, complex Excel programs. But essentially this person used ChatGPT to generate a cocktail. And it was that sparked that idea. I was like, well, if it can do that, can it spit out a cigar blend? And so the project started from there. I have a lot of friends in the design industry as well, or the creative industry, and there's been some concern as far as their jobs and their livelihood of. Because not only is there ChatGPT, but there's other things that can generate images and videos. And so from that, I wanted to basically make this project something along the lines of, hey, AI is here, but how much is it really going to replace? And so I wanted this to be a project that highlights not only the capabilities of chat and AI-based programs, but really to highlight the creators and show just that while it can do some things, it's really not going to take over everything, because at the end of the day, you still need human hands to put those final touches on it, take it over the finish line, and take it from a concept to something actual physical, something that's actually worthy of being in consumers' hands. And it was great to see that throughout this project, my kind of theory came true. We will have AI-generated images for the band. So I task Midjourney to come up with AI bands. So they're all going to be designed by AI, but then we had our, creator take that image and take it to the finish line, turn it into a cigar band, because what we were getting wasn't something that was perfect and wasn't something that could easily be pushed into a final production. We're going to have AI generate the name of the cigar. And then obviously we've got 3 different blends in front of us here that AI spat out to us with, some tweaking and some questions to it. But we found out through working with Hostos that the blends that it spit out to us weren't perfect and really weren't something that could be entirely its own cigar. So we'll get into more of that here, but it's finally exciting 5 months later to have these blends in front of us and to be working through these and pick out one that we like the best. So without further ado, let's jump into it, Griff. We've got blend 1 here in our hands. This is a Habano wrapper. Hostos keeps the blends from us until we've selected one, so that way we don't have any preconceived notions or bias to it. But we have a 6x52 Toro in here, Habano wrapper. So I'm going to get this lit up. I've started a bit here, but Griff, I see you've been puffing away at it. Thoughts immediately?
I've been going. Very smooth, straight medium. I mean, honestly, maybe even a little mild, on the milder side. No transitions yet. Pretty flat.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, I would enjoy continuing to smoke it. So it's not horrible. But
yeah, right off the
this is a big cigar. This is a commitment.
This is a big old boy. Right off the bat, toasted bread for me, just from that first puff. I haven't had any more than that, but I'm really curious to see now. Like I said, I generated blends by asking AI, "Can you provide me with blend details of the perfect cigar?" And what it spat out to me for this first cigar, or the first concept of the first cigar, was an Ecuadorian sun-grown Habano wrapper, binder being Honduran, and filler being Nicaraguan and Dominican. So it was able to give us actual names of tobacco, not just, Habano or, plain Jane things. So what I did was, and this is going to be the same for each of the 3 blends that I had it generate, I sent those blends over to Hostos after telling him the concept of everything that we were going to do. He took those blends, all 3 blends initially, made them, and none of them were perfect. None of them would meet the qualifications that would be something that he would be willing to produce, whether that be because of the construction, the blend itself just wouldn't lead itself to anything other than just tasting like tobacco. Maybe the blend would not burn correctly. And I was happy to see that, because I didn't want to produce anything that was just going to be trash, right? Just for the sake of saying, hey, this was a fully blended cigar by AI with no human tweaks to it. No one wants to smoke a cigar just to say it was cool. You want it to be enjoyable. So he put his knowledge and years of experience to take these initial blends and tweak them where he thought necessary to ultimately end up with a cigar that wasn't going to be trash.
Yeah, I mean, per every cigar that comes out of La Isla, the construction is flawless, and it is pretty breezy here. But flawless construction, tight white ash, beautiful draw. This wrapper too. I mean, the other bigger size, the 6x50.
Yep.
The wrappers are quite different. This wrapper is just flawless. And I don't smoke a whole lot of 6x52s. I had one the other day, drawing a blank on what the heck it was.
Yeah,
but
what
that
was
was
it?
the first in... I can't remember.
Yeah,
That
just
was
not
the
a size I
first,
traditionally
for quite
gravitate
a while.
towards. And it's different. It's always nice switching it up, especially. I mean, it feels like a 52, but I'm curious to see if it'll smoke like a larger ring gauge that we're not necessarily accustomed to.
So I told you this briefly before we started. I was thinking, I was like, which is a good thing, I guess. Knock on wood. We don't ever have, maybe only a couple episodes a year, we'll produce quite a few keyboard clowns. So I was like, well, we can't eliminate the segment. We've got to think of something else. So we're going to start a newer segment, and maybe we'll even select winners on the from the prior episodes. But I guess there were some recommendations. I don't remember seeing any of these, but we've got a couple new recommendations on basically the opposite of Griff's keyboard clowns.
Okay.
We've got Griff's Zen Garden, Howie's Wowies, and Howie's Highlights. Howie's Highlights is pretty good. I mean, they're all good.
That's a pretty good one too. Yeah.
Howie's Highlights is just a quick and easy. So I
Howie
thought,
Wowie's fun
and we
to
don't
say,
have to do this now. We can do it later. We can do it never. I was going to read a couple of the, because I'm pretty bad. I only on the episodes that really produce a lot of, uproar. I go in and check and sometimes reply to these people.
Sure.
But on the other ones, I just forget and I don't ever, go in and read them. So I wanted to read a couple of the episodes from the last podcast, comments from the last podcast, which is, can you find a good $5 cigar? That was a fun podcast.
That was a really eye-opening podcast.
So maybe I'll read a couple now, and then we'll save it for
absolutely
for later in the show as well. And I'm trying to I haven't read any of these, so I want to just quickly make sure they're semi-appropriate. Because Steve Wood, my lost interest, said Griff's dogs are adorable. So, so here's a couple. J Houts 1553, episode 67. That was quite a while ago. Smoking a $400 60 Cuban. I love the whole message of smoke something good, damn it, which I have not said this year or much in a while.
I think you've purposely gone that route, trying to change it up for this season.
I don't know. I was like, maybe that was so last season. This season is, I don't know. He says, I love the whole message of smoke something good, damn it. I live by why wait on good cigars you have when you can just smoke them anytime. Also, Pugh, your mustache was on point, which it is back.
She's back, baby. Summer stash is back.
I saw the picture from this weekend, and I saw that. So, Caterpillar's back, he says, and Griff smoking a Cuban had me laughing, quote unquote, shit on me. This is good. LOL, love this one. It was a fun episode. Believe it or not, we had two great $5 cigars. John Zaragoza, episode number 73. What whiskey is this? Because I love the friendly competition and always ends up cracking up at the comments back and forth. Love all the podcasts though. That's a fun episode too.
We got another. We got the first blind of the season coming up too here in a couple weeks. Shout out to once again the man himself, Sam Hopkins, for sending us another blind. Hopefully, Griff doesn't spank me again. You probably will.
P. Lorella, episode 86. This is crazy. It's just they're all different. Rating Cigar Aficionados top 25. It was my first time seeing you guys. Well, I can't believe he's even continuing to watch us after that.
We appreciate that.
And it was peaked disgruntled Griff. It definitely made me want to quote unquote get to know you guys a little bit more, and I love the duality of personalities. And I'll do one more, and I'll do a couple more later. Let's see. It's crazy. They're all different. Number 74, top 3 treat yourself cigars. This is my favorite, not for the actual content of the video or topic. I think the conversation flow is great, and it's a very easy listen.
Oh, well, thank you.
Pretty cool.
That's great. Cool. You know what? I like the positivity.
Well,
Much better than
until I have, maybe 2 or 3 negative keyboard clowns, which I need to start going through, and I'm sure there's a couple in there. We'll just continue to have the Howie's. What was it?
Howie's.
What was my?
It was HH.
Hell, I already forgot. Howie's highlights.
Highlights. There we go.
So anyway, that was a couple from episode, whatever episode last was, $5 cigars. And I will say that Placencia was fantastic.
I've already had a couple people reach out to find out where they can purchase some. That was incredible. And I was
Necito, was it the size? Necito?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
great size.
Perfect, super hot summer day cigar where it's just too hot, but you want a cigar, or perfect freezing your ass off. You don't have a cool setup outside to be able to stay warm, and you just want to quickly smoke something. Probably a great one if you were like, didn't want to take a cigarette break per se, but you wanted a quick cigar break. You're not going to feel bad if you don't finish the whole cigar for $5.
Good cigar for the truck. Good cigar for the pushing the lawnmower.
Mm-hmm.
Although that is very hard. I've tried it a couple times, and it's just you're pushing the lawnmower, then you're getting blasted in the face by smoke, and then you ash on your leg, and it's kind of a nightmare, to be honest. But
speaking of truck cigar, that's your new damn place, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
You've been burning them down in the truck. You just got to start driving around just to have a cigar.
Yeah, I've been doing it a good bit. It's just, again, I think I said this in the last podcast, like just back roads driving, or not even back roads, just normal roads, but non-highway. It's great. Stoplights, so you can ash, outside, and it's highly recommended. Highly recommended. Keep the windows down maybe for 20, 30 minutes after you get to wherever you go, and there's no smell whatsoever. It's awesome.
That's awesome. Update?
Great construction, pretty mild. Like you said, bready. I wish there was a little bit more spice, or and this is tough because we're not going to obviously smoke this whole thing, and there could be a transition 5 minutes before we put this thing out, and we won't ever get to it. But right off the bat, I mean, extremely, extremely mellow and consistent.
Yeah, I agree. It's fairly one-dimensional right now. I would say touch over mild, just slightly under medium. Like you said, beautiful ash and construction. I'm getting a beautiful wispy blue smoke. I don't know if you're getting that blue smoke off yours.
Yeah, me too.
I want a little bit more pop, a little bit more pizzazz from it, at least in this initial first third. We'll give it a couple more minutes here before we switch over to the second blend, which is going to be a Corojo, which is, I think, the one that I'm most excited about, just because I love what Hostos does with Corojo tobacco. But it's exciting just to talk a little bit more about this concept. Essentially, we wanted to see, could it end up creating a cigar? I know we've been working on this project for 5 months now, and I've been just waiting for someone else to announce a damn AI cigar before we could get blends in our hand and announce this project. Exactly, right? The day before the podcast comes out. So it's going to be really cool just to say that we've done this for the first. I don't know. I don't have too many firsts up my sleeve, and so it's just fun. It's something interesting. Ultimately, the end goal of this, like I mentioned, was to highlight the actual creators themselves and really just showcase that, we, despite these advances in AI technology, we're still going to need actual creators to finish these projects. And essentially, it's my way of saying, hey, don't be concerned yet. It's still not there. It may be there eventually, maybe for more things like graphic design and things like that. You're still going to need someone to, at least in cigars, roll the cigars and blend the cigar in a way that would allow it for construction and combustion and all those things. So I'm happy to say that alone, AI can't make an amazing cigar, but with the knowledge of Hostos, we're going to have one, and that's really exciting for it. So let's put this down, probably come back to it, but let's light up Blend 2 here, and I'll talk a little bit more about the startings of Blend 2.
I will say, I think I was I don't really use it, but I think I was probably one of the last to the party on the whole chat GPT or whatever the
Yep.
letters are. It's from what I hear. I mean, I can't say I've used it. It sounds pretty crazy. I'm like, why? Where was that during college? But
Right.
'cause
Golly.
that would have helped.
I mean,
Maybe I would
it's
have gotten
amazing. Just
better GPA.
it's already changing education as it is now. I mean, you've got programs that are now designed to check to see if papers and articles are AI generated and written because you have people using it to completely write or majority write their papers. And I mean, there's people that use it for like workout routines in the morning and stuff like that. Essentially, it scours the internet and comes back with an answer. So it's not like it's just
so quick
making this stuff. Oh, it's amazing. It's not like it's just making it up out of thin air. You know, it's basically compiling the internet and spitting out an answer.
I wonder. I mean, honestly, probably could do anything, but I wonder if it could do like house plans. You know,
Like architecture.
I'm about to build. Yeah, like I'm about to build a house. Give me give me like a 3,000 square foot house plan. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've used it for just kind of.
I'm not building a house.
The way that I've used it is really just as a starting block to kind of get my gears turning for ideas. You know, something I'm like, I'm running to trying to come up with something fancy to say or paragraph or whatever. I'll throw it in there and kind of see what it generates and then come back and take it over myself. I really used Midjourney a lot. It was fun coming up with, essentially you give it a prompt, and I'll talk more about that here in a minute. And, you're able to, it'll spit back images for you, and then you can go back in and tweak it. You can use starting images as well. Be like, put a picture of me in there and say, cartoon it, right, in the style of The Simpsons, and it'll try to generate that image, but in the style of The Simpsons or Family Guy. What's that?
Do that. Oh, can it do it to me? I want to see myself in a cartoon.
It can. However, I did not up my subscription. I think it's like $8 a month or whatever. So I can see maybe get a fire back up for you.
Yeah, well, let's get
Simpsonize you.
This is
we'll
definitely
get that done.
definitely Corojo wrapper.
Correct. Yeah. Immediately night and day difference on the first initial puff. It just, I don't want to say it just tastes like Corojo, but it you can tell it's Corojo. So the original concept for this blend, and you'll see here, this is an instance where what the AI spat out isn't what we ultimately have in our hands here. So this gave us Connecticut shade wrapper, Nicaraguan jalapa binder, and then filler from Nicaraguan, Dominican Republic, and Honduras. So what was interesting about this second prompt that I got was that it was able to give us a region in Nicaragua rather than just specific or generalizations of regions that grow tobacco. So it gave back this answer of a Connecticut shade grown leaf tobacco, which is known for its mild flavor and smoothness. Binder, a tobacco leaf from the Jalapa region of Nicaragua, which can add a rich and earthy flavor to the cigar. And then filler, it said, a blend of different varieties of tobacco from the Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, and Honduras. These tobaccos can provide a balance of flavors such as nuttiness, sweetness, and spiciness. So it was interesting that not only did it give a specific region, but it gave regions or reasons why it recommended those tobaccos. So obviously, the Connecticut shade just didn't work out for this blend, and Hostos went the Corojo route, probably to mimic some of what a Connecticut shade wrapper would bring to the cigar, but more than likely, it just probably wasn't burning rightly. The flavors probably weren't there with it as a Ecuadorian Connecticut shade wrapper. And so, once again, if you were to blend that cigar, which he did, and sell it as is, it's not going to be enjoyable. And there's no point in putting that out on the market as, cool, it's an AI blended cigar, but it tastes like gas. That's not the intention behind the project.
I will say the smoke output on this blend is night and day difference, at least for me, from the 52. This thing is smoke machine.
I'm not getting the blue smoke that I had before, but it's just flowing. I don't know if you can really see it. It's just flowing off the foot of the cigar. Immediately, I prefer blend 2 over blend 1. It has more complexity in this initial first puffs.
Yeah. There's some nuttiness there, a little spice, underlying spice that hits you on the backside of your tongue. which I like.
I'm getting some nice like
A
citrusy, fruity notes on the retro.
Yeah, a lot more action than the 52.
Yeah, absolutely. So to talk a little bit more about the intentions behind the band of the cigar. So I wanted to, one of my favorite things graphic wise is pinup art from World War II. So pinup art would be what they would draw on the nose of their planes, usually women, to remind them of home. A lot of times you'd have people sending them photos of maybe their girlfriend, things like that they would then take and turn into a pin-up style art. So it's very 40s and 50s. So that was the starting block. I always wanted to have a cigar that utilized that type of imagery on the band. So to eventually get to what we ultimately decided on, I had prompts that, let me see what I can remember here. And what I can do is I can throw up some of these ones that we didn't end up going with. But essentially, I would say, blend me a cigar, or I want to make a cigar band in the style of vintage, pinup, circular, so it had some sort of rounded shape to it. Initially, it was very steampunkish, not really the direction that I wanted to go towards. And so we added in a few keywords such as like futuristic and to kind of blend the old with the new of, hey, we're going old school pinup style artwork, but here's the AI generation portion of it, which added more of a futuristic look to it. And so we'll have some of those throw up on the screens of ones that we didn't go with. But it's cool just seeing the progress of slightly tweaking or changing the words that were included in the prompt, and then seeing what it spit back out over the course of those changes.
I just got a really distinct, sometimes you're smoking cigars and you like randomly pull out a tasting note that it's something that you probably haven't had in 15 years. Charleston Chew. Have you ever seen those?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't think I've had one in probably like 30 years, but
yeah, my grandma used to love them, and last time I had it, I thought I was going to rip my teeth out of my mouth. I just got like this nougat chocolate,
yeah, caramelly type of
yeah. I think she would also put them in the freezer. I'm like, oh my god,
my god.
I know. I mean,
you're never
Meg
biting into that thing.
Meg will put gummies and stuff in the fridge or whatever, or sometimes some chocolate in the freezer. But I'm like, Charleston Chew is already.
It's already a rock as it is.
Quite hard.
Oh man, that'll last 15 hours.
God, we just suck on it for 5 minutes or 5 hours till it softens up. I guess, I don't know. Yeah,
it's a chocolatey, caramelly jawbreaker.
I got there. Mm-hmm.
I like that, and that's what's fun is. And what sucks is you'll get that and you won't be able to find it ever again in the cigar. But that one moment that you picked it out is super cool.
Yeah. This is good. It's definitely up my alley. There's a bitter note that I'm sometimes getting that I don't love. I don't know what it is. Well, we don't know the blend, but I don't know if you're getting that or not. But it's the faintest bitter note that's just not.
I can't say that I am. I'm getting predominantly nuts, toasted bread, a little of that like caramel. I wouldn't say I got necessarily a Charleston Chew, but caramel notes to it, sweetness, and then on the retro for me, it's been citrus fruit, which has been really nice, almost a little zesty spice on the retro, but a lot more complexity than Blend 1.
Was there any when you were talking with the robot or whatever, was there any size discussions or we've got 3 different sizes here.
There was the only time that it ever gave me. Yeah, as far as the blends, the sizes that we have here, these are all just Hostos's sizes for these. The only time it ever came back with a specific size was the first one that we smoked, and that one recommended a Churchill.
Oh God.
And for whatever reason, despite the prompt being similar, I was never able to have it spit out a Vitola again. But it said size, a Churchill, 7x48, which is a good size that allows for good draw and burn time to enjoy the complexity of the blend. So it wasn't, it wasn't like, hey, this blend can only be for this size. So, and honestly, we're not too big of fans of Churchills anyway. I think it's just usually is too much of a smoke. So I'm glad we have these in Toro and a Robusto, and not necessarily a Churchill. But I did include that or keep that as an idea just to, because it spit it out. I wasn't going to change it up as far as what I approached him with.
I will say the ash on this cigar is a lot tighter, wider, cleaner, crisper.
Oh, I really like this blend.
The layers,
at least coming from blend 1 to 2, it's night and day differences in terms of the flavors and the transitions. Because I'm getting actual transitions in this cigar, despite being just in the first third.
The spice has gone away for me.
Have you? You don't retro though, do you? Or not often?
Not a whole
if
lot.
Anything.
My septum is
not friendly towards
terminology. I don't have a deviated septum. It's just something. Some pipage is messed up.
Goes the other way. Comes out your ear instead.
Upper area. Yeah, exactly. God, the construction on these cigars are just perfect. Not that squishy. This thing is pretty hot because I'm smoking it quicker, but not that squishy.
I'm ready. You want to light up blend 3, and then I'll probably go back to all 3 of these shortly thereafter. So blend 3, this is a 5x50 for this size, and this is going to be another Habano wrapper. So knowing Hostos and knowing how this went, this is going to be a different cigar than one, so it's not just a Vitola difference. And then once we get this lit up, I'll talk about more of the AI's vision of this.
Should have brought out a sparkling water.
Yeah, I got just some.
It's
too hot not to have water. I don't know how. It's only like 85, but it feels like 90.
I was down in Pensacola a couple weeks ago, and I didn't discover a new beer, but I discovered a new beer in terms of me not ever drinking them, ever. Corona Light.
Yeah? I don't ever drink Coronas.
Yeah, I know.
mean, I'm happy. I just don't ever drink Coronas. I don't either. Normally I grab like a Modelo.
I know, but number one, the calories is great, but you got the Mexican twist. They're amazing. I went and got a couple 12 packs the other day, and I had some out here last night with Meg and with little lime slice. Oh,
yeah.
We were on the boat a lot, and so everywhere we went, I was like, yeah, I'll do a Corona Light. And I was like, this is the beach vibe or whatever. And I'm a big fan. I love Natty Lights. I love all the light beers, but they're just also similar and just so plain and flat. This at least has some flavor to it, which is different.
Well, I have a beer for the summer for you that I discovered at the beer fest I went to this previous weekend. So it's a new release by Sweetwater, and it's a Sweetwater lager. And I was talking to the rep there, and he's like, we wanted to reproduce a domestic style beer and have it be something you can drink a lot of and get the price right. So a 12-pack is going to be like $14.99, at least in my area. But I threw a couple of those back. It was really good. I mean, it reminded me of like a Coors Light or Miller Light or a Bud Light. And super refreshing, super crushable. It'll definitely be, I'll pick a couple 12-packs of those over the summer and throw those bad boys down. But because you can't drink a Sweetwater 420 at least I can't, all day long. You have maybe one or two of those, and then you're like, all right, I'm tapped. But this lager they have is really, really good.
I want to drink like a gallon of Pepto-Bismol because I feel so bloated, or Gas X or whatever makes you feel less bloated. But this cigar right now is my favorite. For the record.
Had to get this thing touched back up. I didn't get it fully lit. Wow. The
very different.
Not surprisingly, the smaller Vitola of this really has that Habano wrapper come through a lot more than the 52 ring gauge. A lot more. Wow. So the initial prompt or the initial blend that the AI generated for this one And this one I changed up the prompt slightly. Instead of using the word perfect cigar, I just said, please provide me the blend details for a cigar. And this is what it came back with. Wrapper, Ecuadorian Habano. Binder, Nicaraguan Criollo 98. And then filler, Dominican Piloto Cubano. And then Nicaraguan from Esteli and Jalapa. And so this was, out of all the blends that we did, this was the first time that it gave specific seed varietals in the Nicaraguan Criollo 98 and the Dominican Piloto Cubano. So I thought that was really cool that 3 prompts with the general question of it being the same, it was kind of progressed and got smarter in terms of what it kicked back to us. It then went on to say, this blend is a medium to full-bodied cigar with the Habano wrapper providing a spicy, bold flavor, while the Nicaraguan binder adds a hint of sweetness and complexity. The Dominican Piloto Cubano adds a rich, earthy taste, while the Nicaraguan Esteli and Jalapa provide a balance of power and complexity. So it was just really cool to see it give reasoning behind it as well. It was much more detailed than I thought it would be. I figured it would just say Connecticut wrapper, Dominican binder, Dominican filler, and that'd be completely it. But the fact that it painted a lot more of a landscape or a lot more of a blend detail was really impressive to see. And I generated these blends probably back in late February or early March. And I bet if I went back and did it today, it would probably give even further details or more detail or ideas behind the blends now that it's learned and gotten only smarter over the last several months.
I like this cigar a lot. The smoke output's even greater. I mean, for me at least.
Super sweet. Like, this is a sweet cigar. And in terms of like chocolatey, caramel-y notes, it's not like a cloyingly sweet, but it's got much more of those baking chocolates and baking sweetness.
Yeah.
Less of the nuts that we had in the first Habano blend. Or sorry, not nuts, toasted bread.
That's enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all 3, for me,
it's number 1. I think is completely off the table for me. 2 is neck and neck with 3 for me. I want to see. Obviously, we're 2 puffs into this thing, so I want to give this the time that I gave 2.
In the interim, how about a round 2 of Howie's highlights?
Ooh, give me some highlights.
This was the smoking $100 cigar to celebrate our 100th episode, which we smoked the Davidoff Royale.
Yes, sir.
Salomon. So I believe the comment or the call to action was, let us know some of your hot takes. Congratulations. So Nate Reinhardt, thanks for your comment. Congratulations on 100 episodes. Here's to 100 more. I don't know about that. Hot take. People fuss way too much about perfecting their humidor humidity levels, even when it dips and rises a few degrees. Yes.
$1,000,000% agree.
Completely accurate, and that is pointed towards you, Mr. Pugh. Yeah, you're a little psychotic when it comes to humidity levels, I'll just have to say.
What?
Mm-hmm.
No, not even at all. I got my Bovedas in there. I don't fucking touch that shit.
I don't know. You do your little turning and dark room, and
okay,
you're a little weird in that department.
There are people out there that will freak the hell out if their humidity goes from 65 to 64.
I agree.
Listen, I get it. You're protecting your investment, but a 1% humidity difference is not going to change your enjoyment level of a cigar. Now, do I keep my cigars in a darker, in a closet? Absolutely, because it'll change. If they're in direct sunlight, that's going to change the humidity level drastically in your humidor.
Nerd alert. All right.
Wait, I thought this was supposed to be highlights, good things. How am I getting roasted?
Mr. Season the plastic, the empty plastic bin.
Look, I'm not going to throw myself under the bus again, but I'll die behind
Speaking of, thank you, Jacob Tronley, for the comment. Congrats on 100 episodes. Hot take. high-end humidors are better than simple Tupperware.
I mean, that's a hot take because I completely disagree. I think Tupperware is the way to go.
This whole topic kind of throws me off sometimes. It's like I
what's hot,
agree
what's
with
not?
the statement sometimes, but I sometimes get confused on the whole hot take issue. But high-end humidors are better than simple Tupperware. Correct. That I would say that is a hot take because people are weird about that. But I'm a Tupperware guy through and through.
Yeah,
But
to me,
I
a
will
hot
say
take is
everyone
something
should have. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say a hot take to me is something that's controversial. So if I was like, Bovedas suck.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a controversial topic. So I think
I will say everyone should have a nice, and I mean nice as no more than maybe $50, $60, whatever, a nice wooden humidor because they look nice.
yeah, I mean, I would say within your budget, whether that's a $25 humidor, $50, $200 humidor, have a nice humidor that's a showpiece. I don't even keep cigars in mine. But it looks great in the office. It's a cool piece when people ask about it. But in terms of, and maybe something really expensive wouldn't have these issues, but every humidor that I've owned that's been a wooden humidor leaks like a motherfucker because eventually the wood warps. That seal, airtight seal, doesn't become airtight anymore. All that to say, I've never had issues with a airtight Tupperware container, container, or a box big one.
I'm with you. I got a massive one, and I grabbed the Villiger Miami out there this morning, and it was perfect.
Yeah, I've got a airtight jar that I keep Bailey's infused cigars in there. And the Bovedas that are in that jar are probably 4 years old, and they are just as pliable, just as squishy as they were the day that I put them in there. And I don't think about it. It sits in the closet. Go into it every once in a while when she wants one, and I don't have to worry about it. The big old 320-gram Bovedas that I've got in my Tupperware, or my big boxes, that thing sits at 68% or 65%, whatever I've got it at. No questions asked.
Trevor Symbol, thank you for your comment. Congrats on 100 and always enjoy the show. Hot take. Top 25 lists are terrible for getting people into the industry. Too many full-bodied and strong cigars can be intimidating for a new smoker and off-putting for his first experience. I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. When you really do think about them, they're legacy brands, they're I won't say they're all full-bodied, but there are quite a few full-bodied cigars for sure.
Yeah.
And,
and then as we saw this year...
Personally, as much as I disagree with the top 25 list, because I think there's so many amazing smaller brands out there, you're kind of, from the get-go steering newer smokers in a direction that is maybe not the best direction for them to go.
You're back. I was going to say, as we saw in 2022, how many Churchills were on there? The last thing I would want to give to a new smoker is a Churchill. So I completely agree with that. I think they do a good job of potentially highlighting some cigars that maybe you didn't know about beforehand. But I think a lot of it, especially cigar aficionados, I think that one's probably, we've beat that one to death. But that one is, for me, very brick and mortar pushy in terms of like signages and ways to display your cigar when you win those accolades for a brick and mortar humidor, to have that signage that says, Cigar Aficionados number 9 of 2022. So I think it does a really good job of help moving cigars, but I don't think it's a good indication of what a new or cigar smoker should be smoking.
Here's an interesting one. Sean Marr, thanks for your comment. Hot take: cigar reviews are garbage because everybody's palate is not the same, so it's basically pointless. Yet here I am watching a long format cigar review. I mean, I get it. I watch a lot of bourbon reviews, and some bourbons that I think are trash, people love, and vice versa. I mean, it's, again, everyone's palate's different. Just the last blend I said I got Charleston Chew, you didn't.
Yeah.
This isn't debating if the sky is blue, right? It's very, very subjective depending on your palate, and it's finding distinctive tasting notes out of a cigar, even bourbon, is hard. I mean, it comes comes easier, I guess, when you smoke more. But I mean, there's still some cigars that I'm like, yeah, it just tastes like tobacco. I like the flavor; it's good, but I'm not
Couldn't tell you
anything.
what it tastes like. Yeah,
right.
I think a lot of that, and I think we've maybe briefly talked about this previously, is I think once you find someone that has a similar palate to your own, whether that be he tends to like the same cigars that I do, or it's more detailed of like, hey, we both tend to get these notes out of cigar. I think that helps you follow that person and then be able to maybe trust them a little bit more in terms of not what they're saying is true or not, but whether you will like the cigar if they liked it or not like it if they didn't like it.
So here's an interesting one that Ramsey even commented. I'm excited to get the boys' thoughts on a podcast about.
Ooh.
Dave Martin, thanks for your comment. Hot take. Cigars are going down the same path as the excessively niche microbrew beer scene, constantly releasing products with the hope that their novelty sells because, frankly, they are not good enough to exist on their quality alone. No, your Connecticut Puro with quad Lajero binder isn't good, bro. Neither is that tangerine pretzel stout.
It's interesting. I've never thought about that in terms of putting out products that couldn't necessarily stand on their own as full releases. I think that does happen a lot, but I don't think it's as common as it is in the microbrew industry. But you don't drink too many microbrews, so that's not really your alley.
Yeah, it's an interesting comment. I don't ever drink microbrews. I never really got into it. I prefer to eat my calories, honestly. I'm a Coors Light, or not a Coors Light. I'm not a Coors Light connoisseur. I'm a light beer connoisseur. It's interesting because yes, you've got the brands that have cigars and they put an identity to it to be to be humorous. If that's even, is that a word, humorous?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have a formulated thought. I guess what I'm getting at is nope, not even going to go there.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. As someone that does enjoy drinking craft beer, there have been plenty of times where I've had one and I'm like, this tastes like ass. But then is it just me, right? Is that beer appealing to someone? Or is it generally like, okay, you can tell this was put out just to put out the novelty. And here we are doing AI blended cigar. So maybe he's talking to us on this one. But, like the example I think you said was like a tangerine pretzel stout. That may sound good to someone. So there may be a few people out there that really gravitates towards. I mean, I know I was drinking Sour Patch Sours this weekend, and I love the hell out of them because I love Sour Patch Kids. I had a Skittles Sour, which was really, really fun and different. I could only drink one of them because it was really tart and sweet, but I enjoyed it. Would I call that a novelty beer? Definitely. But I don't think it was just put out to say they did a Skittles beer or they did a Sour Patch beer, because there was another distiller or brewery that had their own take on a Sour Patch beer. So, obviously there's something there. One of my favorite beers is a Trix beer, where it has, pounds of Trix cereal in it and pounds of,
Crap,
marshmallows in it and stuff like that. What's that? Trix?
Tricks are for kids.
Tricks are for kids. Unless you throw it in a beer, then it's an adult beverage. So, I think it happens more in the beer industry. I think just the process and the level of difficulty in a cigar, I think you see it less. There have been plenty of times where I've said a cigar has been released too early. It was too young.
Oh yeah.
But I think the nature of just how long and the difficulty of growing tobacco, and then you've got to age it, you've got to ferment it. Usually you've got to roll it. They need to sit after rolling. I think it's a lot more, boxes, labels. I think it's a little bit more of a risk to put out a cigar that's trash just to put out a cigar.
I think the thought I was really trying to, and I still it might not even make sense still, but to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'd love your opinion, the microbrew beer scene, like you said, the tangerine pretzel stout mixed with big or whatever, is almost in the same arena as the cigar smoker that has to have the Kentucky bucket fried chicken cigar, or the daiquiri, orange cream daiquiri, or that, you know what I'm talking about. Like,
sure, absolutely.
I don't novelty cigar, if you will, and I don't mean that necessarily in a
disparaging way,
negative tone, but I don't know. There's a time and place for all of those for sure, but there's some hardcore cigar smokers that's all they want is the
they're fun. They're fun names,
Sure.
or cool imagery. A lot of times they have really cool packaging with them as well. I think microbreweries, and to round out the point, I think because you can do beer on smaller scales as well. Like, you can do just a single keg of this weird experimental beer, whether it's using different ingredients or different hops. I think you can get away with putting out an experimental beer versus putting out an experimental cigar, because of the quantity that you can do it in. You could just sell it in your distillery or your brewery, right? And you have like 2 kegs of it. And if it doesn't sell, then you never do it again. And if it's popular, cool, then you bring it back. Maybe then you look at wide scale production. I think it's just a little bit more tedious to put out something that small of a batch for cigars.
And I'll end it with this comment, because this is actually a pretty good conversation piece, I think. Jonathan Peebles, hot take: Maduro wrapped cigars offer more complex flavors than Connecticut. While I love Maduros and generally gravitate towards them, I've had some Connecticut cigars that offer more complexity than many Maduros that have been stagnant in flavor through all thirds. Congrats on 100 episodes, and roll tide. Pew.
Ooh. I was going to say thanks for the comment. Appreciate the support. Then you got to drop the old RT on me.
Yeah,
Yikes.
RTR. That's a really interesting comment, and I would say that is a hot take, and I would agree with it. Surprisingly, coming from the Maduro lover that I am, the past several Maduros that I've had, I have not been impressed. I'm not going to name any in particular, but on the flip side, I'm not a Connecticut guy whatsoever. But the past couple Connecticut's that I've had, again, it's hotter in the year, getting hotter in the year. Summer's coming, and so that is kind of a more of enjoyable. Like this morning, I smoked the Miami, the Villiger Miami. I'm like, that's a rarity for me. Amazing blend. Like,
it is.
The past couple Maduros that I've had have been very, very flat, 0 transitions, maybe very slim transitions. I have not been super, super pleased with the past couple Maduros that I've smoked. And this is coming from me, a Maduro lover.
Yeah.
The darker, the better, right? But I don't know. Yeah, I know you've always been more of a Connecticut guy than a Maduro guy. The opposite of me. Again, I think it's the change in time of year with the temperature and stuff. And
sure.
It might be. I don't know. But it's an interesting comment.
Yeah, I think for me, I think you've got 2 polar opposites, which are both, I think it's very difficult to make a really good Connecticut. And I think it's very difficult to make a really good Maduro for the opposite reasons. Connecticut, you're left with a wrapper that tends to not bring too much to the table. So you have to really approach it without overpowering a Connecticut, but also adding complexity, adding flavor that you tend to find in the wrapper of other cigars. Whereas a Maduro, on the flip side, it's such a prominent flavor that you get from a Maduro wrapper. How do you balance that out and bring other flavors with your binder and filler that will add transitions and add complexity to that cigar?
Yeah.
So I think I've had Connecticut's that are completely boring.
Oh, yeah.
And I've had Maduros that are completely boring.
Yeah.
And in the middle, with Corojo wrappers and Habano wrappers and wrappers that aren't so polarizing, you have a little bit more wiggle room to play with the blend and come out with something that's, I don't want to say it's easier, but to me, you've got a lot more play with those than you do with a Connecticut or a Big Maduro.
It's a great thought. It's like, to me, and I just pulled this out of my ass, so take it for what it's worth, but the Habano / Corojo cigar is equivalent to like the bottled and bond bourbon. Everyone loves bottled and bond. There's not one person that's but on the other end, it's high proof bourbon or low proof bourbon. I'm not a low proof bourbon guy. I'll drink it, from time to time. I'm very much a high proof bourbon guy. So it's the best of both worlds in a sense. There's multiple worlds, of course, but you know what I mean. So to equate it to bourbon terminology or bourbon lingo, whatever, I think that's a pretty interesting point.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. But when you do find those Connecticut's or that Maduro that brings those flavors, brings the transition, it brings something unique to the table, you buy a box of them and you smoke the hell out of them. I have multiple boxes of the Villiger Miami. The Fratello Oro I absolutely love as a Connecticut. The Villiger Cream, now this one is one of those Connecticut's that is just a Connecticut, but it's a creamy Connecticut throughout.
Yeah.
Like, you sit down and you smoke that cigar not expecting these crazy transitions or crazy take on what a Connecticut could be, but it's just a flawless Connecticut. And so, I think each have their place, but for me, it's just finding them. You've got to smoke some bad ones to find those really unique gems that are out there. I lit back up too. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, did you? I was just going to say, it's going to be interesting to, over the next couple months when it gets warmer here, see what I tend to gravitate towards. I know last summer it was mostly Habanos and Maduros, but maybe this year will be more Connecticut's. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's funny too. It's not only the seasons, but like we're changing as well, right? I've definitely been picking up more Maduros than I had previously, and for no other rhyme or reason than I'm like, maybe I'm just getting tired of those, and I'm like, I need to switch it up and go the complete opposite and pick up a Maduro and smoke it more than I would say a Connecticut.
Yeah, it's also like I'm still drinking high proof bourbon, but again, getting warmer, I prefer not to drink low proof bourbon, so I'm going to tequila. You know what I mean?
Yep. I relit up two puffs. Three's it.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Three is 100% it. And I mean, I ashed just because I've got a fan blowing on me, but I had to like force the ash off this cigar. I mean, this cigar, that ash could have stayed on probably the halfway point if I didn't want it to fall in my lap.
It's really, really enjoyable. Straight medium right now. The spice went away. There's a little tiny bit of underlying spice now.
Wow.
When I first lit this cigar, it reminded me of a specific cigar, but I could not tell you the name of it. That's a complete useless statement.
Leave us hanging there.
There's sometimes cigars, you'd be like, holy shit, this tastes just like, but you can never put the other two, I didn't get that vibe from, but this cigar, I was like, oh man, this tastes very similar to something. I don't know what it is.
Thanks for really getting us excited and then just leaving us hanging on the edge there.
I'll think about it tonight when I'm laying in bed, but.
Oh yeah. Shower in the morning.
Yeah. This size is great, traditional. This is very, very good.
Yeah, beautiful. By far the whitest of the ashes out of all three. I'll hold this back up just to.
Yeah, the smoke output
super white ash. So there you have it, folks. We're going to be going with this Habano blend 3, A3 for this project. But once again, we are happy to announce that we will have the first AI blended conceptual blend of a cigar, as far as we know, in the cigar industry. So stay tuned. We're going to have this coming out later this year. We're still putting on some final touches of everything. We're going to be posting some drops as far as the what the label or the band will look like. We're going to put some images of some of the concepts for the band that we didn't go with, just to kind of show you that generalization of the direction that we went with. We're going to lock down a name. We'll drop that name for you. And then have these out by the end of the year. So stay tuned for more information of when we expect this blend, this project to launch. I'm excited to finally announce it. I've been biting my tongue in eager anticipation until we could get these blends in, and didn't want to announce it too early and end up not having a cigar to go along with it.
Well, I've got a question of the show, which I never do. And you can shut me down if you want, but
bring it out.
If you, and hell, we might even use it. I don't know. because I don't think we've officially locked in the name. But if you have a name for this cigar, what would you call it?
You want me to run through some of the names that I have?
No.
No?
I want to see what people think.
Oh, question. Yes,
Yeah.
got it. Thank you. I got it. I follow. I thought you were asking me this question.
No.
So leave us in the comments below. Hey, use ChatGPT to see what names you could get. I'd love to see what maybe some other people could get coming out of this. Take a screenshot of the questions and the prompts that you get. I'd love to know that. And we may end up actually selecting one of those for the actual official name of the cigar if it's done within ChatGPT. If you're not using AI, what's a cool name that you think could go along with this? I'd love to see what everyone has below. We'll select a winner and we'll send you a 5-pack or whatever. I'm not too sure if we've locked in whether we're doing 5 or 10 packs of these, but whatever it may be, whenever this cigar does come out, we'll send you a pack of those. So in the comments below, ideally use ChatGPT to generate a cool AI-generated name for this cigar. Otherwise, just let us know a cool name that you think would work with this cigar, and we'll select that from the winners. Or we'll select a winner.
Good deal.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us again for another Cigar Club podcast. Until next time, happy smoking.
Smoke something good, damn it.